r/AskReddit. Goodwill thrift shop workers. What are some of the strangest things you've found in the donations? I was a stocker, not working directly with donations, but goddamn, so many people donate vibrators. All the way from top of the line Hitachi magic wands to retro lil metal things that look like a Wiimote. I was 16 and in charge of going through donations, pricing them, and putting them out for sale. I came across something I didn't recognize, so I did what I always did and slapped $0.25 on it and put it out. A few hours later a lady brought it back to my boss in the donation room and told her we shouldn't be selling crack pipes. Oops. I was sorting out some donated items and come across an unusual set of tools. Through some research, we discovered that it was a full transorbital lobotomy tool set. It got donated to a local university for display. Apparently, a vintage set in good condition can sell for around $1,000. I've read here that ashes of cremated loved ones is a super common donation. Lots of people just think it's a vase that recently deceased Aunt Bertha's house, not realizing it actually contains the earthly remains of her husband Chuck. I imagine there are plenty of people who donate it fully knowing what it is. A high school diploma still in its leather case. We were selling it for $1.39. Also a horn movie inside a Clifford the Big Red Dog DVD case. I've found a ton of weird stuff. The old ladies I worked with called stuffed animals stuffies and I always thought it was strange. Well, one day we get a big box, 2x2 feet, labeled stuffies. They opened it up and it was full of dildos, butt plugs, handcuffs, all kind of X toys. I've never heard so much hootin' and hollerin' in my life. Sounded like a pack of coyotes. Edit. I also found a VHS tape of Lost in Space when I was talking to a coworker. Pulled out the tape and $70 cash fell out. Maybe someone forgot about their hiding place. Used journals. Highlights include someone recounting the time they bit someone, and a tale of an explosive funeral. They make for a good read, but why wouldn't you throw them out? My co-worker found a 12-year-old's journal. It was a gold mine of middle school drama. Also had a lot of stories about Jacob from Twilight and wishing she was a werewolf. We read through the whole book and cried laughing. I think years from now that same girl will wonder where that journal is and desperately wish she had it again. Was doing community service at a Goodwill. A Vietnamese guy pulls up, drops off a couple trash bags and dips. We start looking through it all and I find a full 90 cc bottle of 10mg Oxone pills. A classmate of mine found a human skull that was donated. It still had remnants of human on it. They reported it to the police and turns out it was part of an active murder investigation one state over. My aunt's a cop and had to go investigate a donated hand grenade. Edit. People keep asking if this happened in city, so apparently it's super common in America. For the record, keep it classy. San Diego. Dirty laundry. It happened so often that we had to wear gloves to go through clothing. Washed everything at least once to be safe. Who gets don't wearing their underwear and is like, may I'll donate it and not wash it. Edit. To answer common questions. No, it wasn't Goodwill. It was small thrift shop in Chicagoland. In the back we had 7 washers and dryers, and a team constantly going through clothing. A lot was thrown out. Not something I've found particularly, but something very strange. Every month and a half or so, a man would come by right before we closed and would donate a single blank CD. Every single time. My co-workers and I would always put it in and see if anything was on it. There never was. Wife worked there as a teenager. Worst thing she found was a newborn baby who just passed. A woman high on drugs gave birth in the street, freaked out and dumped her baby there. Wife found the baby, called police, and the woman was arrested for neglect among other charges. Managed to dodge murder charges somehow. I worked there for a few years, one in AZ and one in OR, an urn with someone's cremated remains. Happened probably 3 times. Someone once tried to donate live roosters. A little ornate box with about 7 teeth inside. A crochet jockstrap with I guess what you'd call a cock warmer. So many unique dildos. A Ziploc baggie full of mice bones and fur tufts. Some nerds like 50 plus mall sword and dagger collection. A 80s cereal collection. Bill and Ted, Count Chocula, Ghostbusters, etc. Roughly 3 full hefty bags of Grateful Dead live shows on cassette, each labeled and track listed. shoebox of prison letters to a girlfriend that was raunchy. Also a big shout out duck you to the junkie lords who have dirty needles mixed in with the items they donate. My manager said she came to the shop once and there were bin bags waiting at the front of the store. It was obvious to her going through the bag that a guy had just tipped all of his ex-girlfriend's possessions into bin bags and had donated them to us. All of her possessions, vibrators included. We've had some nipple clamps on a chain, a rampant rabbit with car charger, a jug in the shape of a tit and a book with a hole in it that you stick your dick in for a novelty puppet show. Oh, and there was also a mobile phone with a bunch of photos of a local policeman wearing his girlfriend's underwear. I securely deleted those. He owes me a get out of jail free card for that. I did find a shirt with a huge picture of a dead fly on it. When I was about 16 I worked at Goodwill for about 6 months. There was this old homeless man who used to try and sneak inside to sleep and stuff like that. Every day he'd get kicked out pretty quick by one of my female co-workers. After about a month of working there with her, the homeless man came up to the counter she was working at, gave her a Target bag filled with rocks, and left. We opened the bag and find a doll underneath about a layer of rocks. It was so friggin' creepy. The doll looked exactly like her. We flipped it over and the back had her full name sewn into it. She quit about a couple days later because she was worried about that homeless man coming back to the store. I didn't work at a thrift store, but one of my dad's friends did. One day a large instrument case came in. Inside of it was a Breedlove Black Magic acoustic bass guitar which, when the thing was released, retailed for over $1,000. We snagged the thing for a cool $300. Someone donated an entire trash bag full of dirty diapers, X-toys, lots of X-toys. Some older and more naive workers actually priced them and put them in the sales floor. An old electronic chessboard that was somehow worth $2,000 plus. Some rich old lady came in and donated a Ziploc bag full of gold and platinum jewelry. It was real. Huge Beanie Baby collections. Guess someone finally figured out after 20 years that they weren't a solid investment. It's something you hear about but I never really saw before. Maybe not the strangest but you actually do find some cool old that people think is worthless. Cool job for a while. A trio of mariachi band figurines that were made of prunes. Not me but my cousin. In a big dump of stuff found an entire box of dildos. Like, all kinds. From vibrator ones to ones clearly made from specific molds. In this box of absurdity was one with like 30 condoms on it. Weirdest it I ever saw. OFC they threw them away. Not a worker but at the local Salvation Army I opened a drawer and found a used tampon. Finally a question I can answer. I once found a signed first edition of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Strange and why would anyone give it away? Managed to buy it for 50p and it's honestly my prized possession today. I worked in donations. In the same day we got a pickled baby tiger shark and a coin purse made from a kangaroo scrotum. I was a receiving and loading lead at a thrift store for a few years. We had this guy that cleaned out storage units for a living and then he'd dump whatever he couldn't flip with us for a tax slip. He pulls up and we're going through it all. Pretty nice stuff. Looked like it was an estate sale. We get it all unloaded and then we start snooping through to see what needs to get brought to where and we find this green glass vase filled with sand. I started pouring the sand out into the trash so we could figure if the vase was worth using. That's not sand. Somehow we ended up with an unmarked, full urn. I was a manager at a local non-profit that gives away donated items for free. It's basically a Goodwill, but you can just take what you want. Each shopper has a limit of clothes, toys, books, etc. they can take pet person in the household per month. We had tons and tons of donations and my main job was keeping the donations organized and making sure the volunteers and donators were happy. I had a woman come and super pissed off and just started unloading the back of her minivan. Some volunteers grabbed me because they were afraid of her. There were tools, a wedding dress, radios, instruments, tons of valuable items. She was yelling incoherently and I was just trying to get the stuff from her before she threw it on the parking lot ground and broke the stuff. She started calming down and I was able to ask her if she wanted a tax form for all this stuff. Normally, people do, but it's just for some clothes. This lady was easily donating $1,000. if not more, dollars worth of items. She told me that her husband told her wanted a divorce after so many years of marriage and she was pissed, so she was donating all his stuff. I then was pissed off because I couldn't donate this guy's stuff without his permission. So now I had to find a spot to store all this stuff and hope he would come here to find it. He ended up coming a few hours later and we had most of his stuff. Volunteers put out some of things, some tool belts, music books, and smaller tools. I didn't ask him any questions, but gave him stuff back. He was much more calm than his wife, so I think I know why he wanted the divorce. She never did come back for that wedding dress, but the dress made another woman's day, so it was all worth it. Thanks for watching. Be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to be entered into our iMac giveaway.